girls caught up in catastrophes, especially in humanitarian circumstances, not of their own making, whether it's the Rohingya in Bangladesh or women in Afghanistan. They are now faced with grave threats due to the abrupt curtailment of funding. And I would ask each of you to do whatever you can where you sit in your aegis to speak to ensuring that women in crisis zones can give birth safely, that a survivor of rape, God forbid, can access counseling and medical care in a timely way, and that a midwife can continue to go up the mountain on her horse or the mule or whatever she's using to deliver that baby into a healthy environment. This is support that spells the difference between life and death for millions, for girls, for newborns, for women. And I can certainly pledge that UNFPA will continue to work with the United Nations member states of all political, religious, and cultural beliefs to find that common ground and to know that we will work together to seek out the types of new partnership that will support those we serve. The compassion for the plight of a teenage girl is something that has to unite us and not divide. So strong. Study after study shows that when you invest in a woman's health, it will yield an economic return of at least $3 for every dollar invested, and often much more. And these are benefits that are reaped by boosting productivity, by reducing healthcare costs, and by putting into place those building blocks that lead to stronger communities, to healthier communities. So to me, it's not charity. It's just smart economics when you can get a triple bonus. This is good. This is an excellent return. And as we move forward in our increasingly interconnected world, the defense of multilateralism is going to be more and more essential. I don't think we take anything for granted in these days, especially when it comes to upholding the fundamental human rights of which the United Nations and the Declaration of Human Rights is the cornerstone. So 80 years into the UN, I think the role to advance women's rights has been undeniable, from the groundbreaking Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women to that landmark agenda in Cairo and in Beijing. The UN has worked hand in hand with its member states, with civil society, with women-led organizations who often know best, and with other groups who support programs that empower women and girls. Now, when it comes to the role of men and boys, I am again immersed in literature, which underscores the importance of the father in the life of the family, and the direction that many successful women repeat over and over is, my family believed in me, my father supported me, I was the beneficiary of someone who wanted me to get through school. Right now, men and boys as allies and agents of change is emphasis that gender equality isn't just good for women, it's good for everyone. When you have parental leave, if you adopt a child, it's important for the dad to be there. So I hope that more and more men will continue to step up, and I've had the pleasure of speaking with some of you tonight already, to say that you will use your power and your influence to assure that equality for an adolescent girl. It's still true, women earning 77 cents on the dollar compared to men. It's still true that women selflessly do unpaid labor in the home out of love, but also out of necessity. And as society changes, as we have longer lifespans, women who live longer don't necessarily have the benefit of the pension. They don't necessarily have the resources. And so we want to change that face of poverty from so often being the face of a woman. Close by emphasizing that this concept of bodily autonomy says that women and girls should have the power and agency to be able to exercise their fundamental human rights over their own body, to enjoy good health, throughout the lifespan and to reach their full potential. And that's what we aim to help to do. Our work at UNFPA increases the skilled midwives contingent so that no matter where you live, right there in your village, you can deliver safely. These are efforts that local communities and local organizations support. The combating of child marriage, this is a misnomer. If you are underage, it is not a marriage because you are, in essence, a child who can be seen to be coerced into marriage, often with someone much older than the girl is. We partner with traditional leaders, religious societies, and community groups to address this type of gender-based violence. And we don't shy away from discussing impolite topics like female genital mutilation because it has huge implications, not just on the physical health, but the mental health status of millions of women and girls around the world. And this concern to end gender-based violence, to end female genital mutilation, is a concern that we share, for example, with His Excellency the Nuncio, who's gracing us with his presence tonight. And he has lectured on the sanctity of the human body. Very important for girls to know that we are working together to safeguard their health and their well-being. I will also say that the rights of women is much more than the policy or the program that's written on the page. It really requires genuine partnership and that listening ear for youth-led organizations, both of girls and boys, to become the experts, to become the ones who can speak to women's lived experiences, and also to be willing to challenge wrong when they see that in their community. We do need to be in the forefront to advocate for legal reforms, to challenge discriminatory norms, and to be the first responders, to be there when essential services are necessary, to be sure that menstruation does not stop a girl from fulfilling her educational aspirations. At the bottom of the list. And youth-led organizations are bringing fresh perspectives. They're innovating with us. These approaches are helping us to deal with access to education, to sexual and reproductive health in an age-appropriate fashion, and again, to recommit to freedom from violence in the home, in the community, and hopefully the ripple effect in the wider world. We invest in these organizations and movements, and in fact, 40% of UNFPA's humanitarian funding goes through women-led groups. Distinguished guests, dear friends, it is Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that reminds us that, quote, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. This is an equality, an aspiration that must be prioritized, it must be protected, and it must be defended so that women, and really all beings, can fulfill their potential. As we keep pushing for these fundamental freedoms, in these unprecedented times, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to forge new language, new alliances to assure that every girl everywhere knows that she is precious and she is secure in her equal worth. I would like once again to thank the Foreign Policy Association. You're shining a light on a vital issue, and we want to see this lecture endowed in perpetuity. I certainly would like to thank my hardworking UNFPA colleagues, some of whom have joined me here this evening. Everywhere around the world, they log long hours, tremendously dedicated people who believe that the rights of women and girls are non-negotiable. And they're committed to our mandate because they know that it's life-saving and it's life-changing. And this is important for everyone, everywhere. So to close, I will invite us to recall the words of former United Nations Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. The United Nations was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. Hammarskjöld also said The pursuit of peace and progress cannot end in a few years in either victory or defeat. The pursuit of peace and progress, with its triumphs and its tribulations, with its errors, successes, and setbacks, can never be relaxed and never be abandoned. Dama Giosetta represents the best of that ideal as we march forward for justice, for rights, for equality, certainly for women and girls, but truly for everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Giosetta, for building this bridge, as you always do with Fiasco Nagro. Thank you very much. Have a good night. And let me say it in Italian because it's very sweet. Buonanotte.